Hi everybody, this is Mike with another one of my YouTube videos about simulation. In this case though, if you've seen my other videos previously, you know I'm really into motorsports simulation. A lot of videos I've done about modifying car sim racing gear or building my setup in the basement that my son and I can race on for sim racing with projectors or large screen displays. So anyway, this is a little bit different. This is about another hobby of mine, which is golf, which I'm not that great at, but my son and I both enjoy playing, and my dad is actually a very good golfer. So we can get out there with 3 generations and play together at times. He's retired now, so it's kind of nice. He gets a lot more time to practice than I do. But anyway, I decided a couple of years ago that I'd like to have a way to practice at home in the winter. So, by the way, my dog Fletch is joining us now. He's taking a nap here on the wood floor. And anyway, I decided I was interested in setting up an area to hit in my garage or basement. And I had seen ads on the Golf Channel and other places for this OptiShot sensor pad that you hit off of by, I believe the name of the company is Dancing Dogg, ironic. And it is something that looked really good, and I didn't want to. I think it was $3.99, and I was a little worried about spending $400 on something without trying it out first. None of the local stores had it in stock, and I got lucky enough. I found one on Craigslist that was just very slightly used for a lot less money, and decided to take the plunge. And the concept behind it, in brief, is this isn't really a video about the OptiShot itself, but I've got to go into it a little. There are sensors that are cut into a mat that you hit off of, and that connects to your computer with a USB cable, and there are little lights that are underneath. I don't have the base unit. It's actually out in my garage now in the hitting area. This is just the topper for it. And so as your club sweeps across the ball, the light sensors that are in the bottom, there's a row in front of the ball and a row behind the ball. They'll pick up the speed of your club, they'll pick up the angle of the face of the club, whether it's open or closed, and from that, they'll draw a path on the screen, on your computer screen, that shows the ball flight, approximately. So you get to learn distances that you're hitting the clubs, and you get to learn if you're slicing or hooking or fading or hitting the ball square, especially what you're doing with the swing, which is great for beginners to practice. And so what I liked about it was all those features. What I didn't really like about the OptiShot was it comes with this very thin, let me tilt this up so you can see a little better, very thin carpet topper that you hit off of. And if you've ever been to a driving range that has really old, worn out driving range mats, and you've come away with sore wrists from hitting down with irons and having no padding, that was the experience I was getting. Not too fun. So it doesn't really encourage practice, even though the rest of the concept is great. So I was looking for a way to make it more comfortable. I had gotten previously a large mat to hit on outdoors, which you can see over here on the right is a little piece of I've cut away. I ended up putting the OptiShot inside that mat and cut this section away, so that's the leftover piece. But you can see quite a bit thicker than even a normal driving range mat. It's more like a heavy-duty driving range mat. And I believe this is by a company called Monster Tee. I'll try to put a link in the video description. But one of the things I liked about it was you could actually put your own tee in there instead of using a rubberized tee. It's thick enough to actually hold a tee. So if you're going to practice with woods as a driver, you can hit off of a real tee. And it's very, very comfortable because it's got some give to it. It's very thick, as you can tell, since it can hold the tee. And it's got a little bounce to it, so when you hit down on the ball, as you should with irons, it's going to be much softer on your wrists. So I was looking for that kind of experience with the OptiShot. Did some searching around, and I found a couple of companies that will take large mats like that and actually cut custom cutouts in them so that the sensors can pick up, in theory, through the large mat. But I already had a mat. I didn't really want to invest in a new several $100 golf mat just for that. And also, it's still just the mat itself material. So I thought maybe I'd cut my own out. And I started to think about doing that. And then I believe I read about in one of the golf forums, I just did a Google search, and it might have been Ottawa Golf Forums or Golf GRX, I think it is, or GWX. One of those forums, they were talking about, somebody had tested out this topper that's sold by a guy named Joe on his website, and I'll put a link in the description for sure. And it's called the SoftShot One Piece Premier. And what Joe's concept is, I'm assuming, very similar to what I'm talking about, taking a much higher quality turf like this that's much more comfortable to hit off of, and putting it on the OptiShot and making it work. Well, he went a step better than my idea to cut out my own, because he not only put the high quality turf on here, and I'll go ahead and show you, you can even stick tees in this just the same way, but he molded it to a custom molded silicone, hope the camera's picking that up, I'm assuming this is silicone, very thick, it's almost 1.5 inches thick, silicone pad that is cut out to fit and replace this cheap indoor-outdoor carpet that OptiShot gives you. The Velcro lines up in the same way. You simply peel this off of your OptiShot. By the way, the stock OptiShot, you're only seeing one slit here. That's because there's not even any carpet on the other side. I can't remember if it's the trailing side or the leading side of where you hit, but with the stock one, this area over here is just black plastic. So it's even more intimidating to hit off of something like that. You think you're going to damage your clubs. With this one, you can see there are 2 slots. Hopefully you can see this. There are 2 slots in there because it's cut out to fully cover the entire OptiShot base. And it's sloped in such a way so that it's going to be level once you set the OptiShot base on the ground, then you put this on top of it, Velcro it down, and you're good to go. This is actually my second one. I had reached out to Joe and asked him some questions and told him I was thinking about doing a YouTube video, and he told me he actually wanted to send me an updated one because mine was several years old and he wanted me to try out the latest innovations. So these Velcro tabs that you see here are new. And what I like about that concept is it's going to be extra holding power to actually hold this in place so it doesn't slide. What they're going to do is, I haven't replaced my old one yet with this one, but you simply Velcro this on, and then these straps reach down underneath, and they have a double stick surface that's pre-applied to the other side that sticks to the bottom of the plastic on the OptiShot unit, so it's even more snugly and firmly in place. And that's important because that keeps the slots lined up over where the lights are in the OptiShot. So, as far as the comfort level goes, hitting off of this, it's night and day. I mean, this has some give to it. You can see, let me try to turn it sideways a little bit here. And you can see when you hit down on it, it's got a lot of give. It feels like you're hitting off of a really, really good high-quality mat at a country club that's just been replaced, or maybe even off of fresh-cut fairway. Obviously, it's not quite the same as hitting a real divot, but it's definitely the best that I've had indoors, experience-wise, on something like this. And I've found that it really doesn't impact the electronics or functionality of the OptiShot at all. Joe's gone a long way to include a lot of information to make your installation go smoothly. For example, hold this out here. These are the instruction sheets. I'm sure we could put a link up on the YouTube page, or he'd be glad to email them to you if you inquire on the website. But it's basic one-sheet instructions that walk you through how to install it, some tips, and he's also included in here, which I don't believe came with my original package a couple of years ago. If you think about it, this is sitting about 1 inch higher off the ground at least than the standard OptiShot mat. So your clubs are further away from the pickup, the LED lights that pick up your swing pattern. So there's going to need to be some adjustment in the software, but don't let that intimidate you. It's very simple to do. And you need to do this sometimes to tweak the OptiShot anyway, depending on how your room is lit and how dark or light your clubs are, things like that. What you do is you simply go in, you hit a few balls. Hopefully you have a general idea how far your irons go already, or you can go to a golf store that has one of those $4,000 or $5,000 launch monitors like you see on TV, and they can tell you, and a lot of times if you're just testing out a club or two, they're not going to charge you to do that. Get an idea of your swing speed in miles per hour, and then try it out on the OptiShot equipped with the topper on it, and you'll see it probably shows a lower swing speed than you're actually swinging because it's further away. There's more distance for those lights to travel through to pick up your club speed. So Joe's included a handy, I had already gone in and known that I had to adjust things, but I didn't know exactly where to start, so I was just eyeballing it based on a couple of clubs I know how far I hit. But there's a user on, I guess, either email or on one of the forums named Ben S. sent Joe some information, and now he's printed it out and included it in the package. And it goes through club by club. They went and did the research, this user, and checked with a real launch monitor, and he gives you recommendations here, varying by club. So for instance, a 7-iron, you want to increase the distance 11 to 15%, but on a 4-iron, it's 13 to 16%. They've researched that, and this will get you set up real quickly if you make this change. And again, you'll have to experiment for your particular conditions. I do recommend a good amount of light. Again, you're setting this OptiShot base further away than it's intended by the manufacturer from your club, so you want to make sure some light gets down in there. I actually did my setup, and I'll do another video that shows more in detail what I've done in the garage and building nets into it and some things like that to do kind of a poor man's version of what you'd see at Golf Galaxy in my garage. But I decided to actually take an LED light strip that you can get at Costco and remote control, turn on and off, and wrap it around this guy. So there's a little ring of light that lights up when I'm using it. I don't know if that really helps the OptiShot pick up my club better or not, but it can't hurt. So the other thing that I would say is you're going to have to build a platform. Oh, hi, Fletch. Be aware. Here, let's get you out of the camera's way. You're going to have to build a platform to stand on, probably, because again, what's going to happen is your OptiShot's going to be a good inch or two higher than it was before. And so when your mat is down on this level, and then you stick an OptiShot underneath this, in other words, if you have a mat, let's even get the thicker mat. So if you have a thicker mat like this, and you're going to stand on it to hit off of, and then you've got this, and then you've got the OptiShot, which is a couple inches thicker, that goes underneath this, raises this up, you're going to be hitting off of an elevated surface, which isn't ideal for practice. So what they recommend, what Joe recommends, is building a platform to stand on that's going to make everything level. And I can tell you through trial and error, I did this the hard way, and he's got a much better way. So included in the package are instructions, and I saw this is a PDF you can download on his webpage too, of how he built this. And the trick was, I used plywood to build this up, but I actually got plywood and I had some OSB board, which is the kind that you'd probably see built in like the rafters of a lot of modern houses. It's that chipboard. And I'd gotten several 4x8 sheets of that and stacked them on top of each other until they were thick enough to be the right level, and then put my carpet, or my turf carpet on top of that. So everything leveled up. Problem with that is 2 or 3 sheets thick of that OSB board at a 4-foot by 8-foot is hugely heavy, a couple hundred pounds. And maybe not a couple hundred, but probably 80, 100 pounds, you know, when you stack it up thick and it's 8 feet by 4 feet. And then you have to cut out this section right here because the OptiShot itself is going to sit down on the ground. So what I would recommend is doing it his way, which is, in short, basically a couple of sheets of plywood, one for the top and one for the bottom, thin plywood, and then foam core that goes in the middle to build up the height. You can get this foam core at Home Depot in 2-inch thick pieces, 4x8. You know, it's styrofoam basically, and I think $10, $20 a sheet. And talk about lighter, and it's going to be plenty rigid when you have a sheet of plywood on top and bottom, and it's also much easier to cut because you're only cutting through the thin plywood, and then you can score the styrofoam with a razor blade. So I'm going to do that when I build my next platform, and definitely take his advice. But for now, let me try to get a couple of close-up shots here. I can't say anything better. I recommend this highly, especially at the price. I mean, you're talking, I saw some other solutions that were hundreds of dollars. This, I have to look at the current price, but I think it's well under 100. It might be closer to 50. And I'll correct that in the comments on my video or annotations. But just a really, really high quality piece of kit here. Very well built, and I should get a lot of years of good use out of that.